In terms of technology, the hardware and software we used in the process of constructing our media product were a camera and an iPhone 6s for the production of our film and the iMacs for our film's editing. We specifically used Final Cut Pro for editing. As we didn't have access to a camera for the first week of filming, I decided to use my phone to start filming. I bought a mini tripod for my phone as it would shake if we had filmed by hand. This helped make the footage more smooth, especially while we panned. We filmed the rest of the scenes with the camera. At first we experimented with different types of shots and going in and out of focus. We also used a tripod for every scene so the footage looks smooth and more professional. We also found that the footage we recorded on the camera had much better quality. We used technology while editing our film. We used Final Cut Pro. At first I put in a Paramount clip specifically from the 80s. I also added in blue text for the opening credits to give more of an 80s John Hughes effect, and added in transitions called cross dissolves between the credits. I then put all the footage we had on the timeline in order, after which I cut out bits using a blade tool that we didn't need. I then put in fades or flares wherever it was needed, although as most of our opening was jump cuts, we didn't need as many transitions. Whilst editing the establishing shots and the jump cuts of Nancy getting ready, we first found soundtracks so that we could edit to the music. I also used the S-curves to fade the music out so that it didn't stop suddenly and flowed. I felt like the scenes didn't flow, and so I detached the audio for some clips and overlapped them over two scenes so it worked as a transition. During the final stages of editing, we done voiceovers to replace the missing audio from the conversation. I also detached some of the audios and bladed parts where you could hear ambient sound whilst no one was speaking, so it looked professional. We also added in a doorbell sound effect. Our media product is a film opening called Nancy's Day Out. A convention is a generally accepted way of doing something, and in terms of genre, this means certain things you'd expect to see in a film with a certain genre. For example, in a horror film, you would expect to see quick cuts, low-key lighting, and supernatural beings. The genre for a film is a teen drama. Conventions of a teen drama are that they are usually about the journey of one character who is always a teenager, who usually experiences things similar to an average teen. They also have a dramatic storyline to move the audience emotionally. Teen movies usually have stereotypes such as Miss Popular, the geek, the jock, the rebel, and the loner. Another thing teen dramas have in common are their settings, such as a high school, the character's house, or a shopping mall. In order to understand our genre better and how we can incorporate those genres into our own film, we researched 4 different films, which were Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Adventures in Babysitting, Breakfast Club, and Home Alone. We chose Ferris Bueller's Day Off as our first film to research, as the storyline for the film is very similar to ours. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is about Ferris, the main character, who fakes his sickness in order to take the day off school and goes out with his friends and girlfriend, whereas our film is about Nancy, who also tries to fake her sickness to take the day off school and goes out with her friends. After watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, we also decided to include a conversation between Nancy and her parents and her brother. In our opening scene, we watched the Ferris Bueller's Day Off opening scene and took pictures of some of the shots and angles we could use in our opening scene, such as high angle shots, low angle shots, and close-up shots. The high angle and low angle shots were mostly used during the conversation, most of which were either point of view shots or over the shoulder shots, as Ferris was laying down and he was looking up at his parents while they were looking down at him. Another explanation could also be to emphasize the idea that Ferris was supposedly weak and ill in comparison to his parents, whereas the close-up shots were used either to introduce a character, such as Ferris's sister, or to emphasize on expressions. The other 2 films we researched were Breakfast Club and Home Alone. We watched The Breakfast Club to help us with the kind of costume teens wore in the 80s, and these 2 films also helped us with the way in which characters communicated in films from the 80s, and so helped us with our script. We also wanted to record a montage of shots of Nancy getting ready to go out, and so we did the same thing with the Adventures of a Babysitter's opening scene. In terms of costume, we found that for adults it wasn't much different, as they dressed smartly. So we dressed Nancy's dad in a suit and a bright tie, whereas we dressed Nancy's mum in a black and white patterned loose jacket, and I also curled her hair. In terms of boys, they either wore leather jackets and black trousers or jeans and a varsity jacket. Teens wore white socks and white trainers. I found it hard to find Nancy's costume, and so I also researched on Google for outfits teens wore, especially girls in the 80s, as well as their hair and makeup, and found that denim was also in fashion then. This made it easier to put a costume together, as denim is still in fashion. We also took establishing shots of the room to emphasize the 80s theme by showing the props we used, such as the posters, teddy bears, and certificates. I combined all the research, creating Nancy's costume as a plain top, a denim jacket and jeans, white socks and white Converses, and of course big hair, as that was what 80s was known for, as well as colourful clothing and makeup. Overall, our film fits into the teen drama genre, as our story is about a normal girl taking the day off by persuading her parents that she is unwell. This is a quite realistic storyline, and many teens can relate to this.